Her name is Uke Sasakolo. She weighs over 1,000 pounds, heavier than a grand piano. She is between 70 and 90 centimeters across the carapace, one of the largest leatherbacks ever tagged in the Solomon Islands. On March 25, 2024, she descended 1,344 meters into the Pacific Ocean on a single breath. That is 4,409 feet, nearly 3/4 of a mile, straight down. The publicly estimated depth limit of a United States Navy submarine is approximately 900 meters. She went deeper, without oxygen, without any light, in water near 2 degrees Celsius, under 134 atmospheres of pressure, enough to collapse most air-filled structures ever engineered by humans. She surfaced. She breathed. Then the satellite data showed she had crossed 1,200 meters on 4 other occasions during the same migration. This was not a one-time event. It was a pattern. This is a reptile operating in conditions that would kill almost every other creature that has ever breathed air. Welcome to the Abyss Report. This is episode 2 of Uke's story.
The leatherback sea turtle is not like other sea turtles. It is not, in a meaningful biological sense, like other turtles at all. Dermocheles coriacea is the only surviving member of the family Dermocheliidae. Every other sea turtle on Earth belongs to the family Chelonidae, hard-shelled, air-breathing, surface-oriented. Leatherbacks have been on their own evolutionary track for at least 65 million years. They survived the asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous period. They are the last of something ancient. They do not have a rigid shell. They have a mosaic of small bones embedded in firm cartilage and leathery skin, a carapace that can flex under pressure rather than resist it. They are the largest reptile alive. Their front flippers can span 9 feet tip to tip. And unlike every other sea turtle, they generate and retain body heat metabolically, behaving more like a marine mammal than a reptile.
At 1,344 meters, the pressure on Uke's body is 134 times greater than at the surface. The flexible carapace compresses under pressure rather than cracking. The chest wall is similarly flexible. The ribs are connected by cartilage rather than rigid bone joints, letting the lungs collapse almost completely under deep water pressure. Collapsing the lungs is not a failure, it is the solution. By letting the lungs compress to a fraction of their surface volume, the leatherback eliminates the nitrogen narcosis risk that kills human divers and removes the rigid air pocket that would otherwise be crushed. The oxygen she carries is stored instead in the blood and muscle, in hemoglobin with extraordinary oxygen binding capacity and myoglobin concentrations so high the tissue looks almost black. She can also slow her heart rate dramatically, from roughly 15 beats per minute to as low as 1 beat per minute at depth. And a countercurrent heat exchange system in her flippers keeps her core temperature well above the near-freezing water around her. She is not cold-blooded in the deep. She builds and keeps her own heat. All of that explains how. None of it explains why. Leatherbacks are primarily jellyfish feeders. Their throats are lined with backward-pointing spines, papillae, that prevent jellyfish from escaping once swallowed. Jellyfish are surface and midwater animals. The midnight zone, below 1,000 meters, is not where they gather in abundance. Diving to 1,344 meters for food does not obviously make sense. The leading hypotheses, the deep scattering layer, a vast daily migrating community of organisms concentrating at depth during daylight hours, which Uke may simply be tracking. Navigation, some researchers propose the dives function as geomagnetic orientation, using Earth's magnetic field, more cleanly detectable away from surface noise. Thermal regulation, the midnight zone is cold but stable, and the dives may reset the animal's own thermal baseline. The honest answer, as of 2026, nobody knows.
In April 2026, a study published in Scientific Reports delivered the most comprehensive analysis yet of leatherback diving behavior across every life stage. Using more than 2,400 daily dive records from 71 individual turtles fitted with miniaturized satellite tags, the study revealed something that reshapes how we understand this impulse to dive deep. Juveniles do it too. Young leatherbacks, animals too small and new to have any obvious ecological reason for extreme depth, consistently dove deeper and longer as they grew. This is not opportunistic behavior by an adult finding unusual prey at depth. This is developmental. Leatherbacks appear to be programmed for the deep before they have any reason to go there. Uke did not learn this. It is something the species is built for.
After her record dive, the satellite tag kept transmitting. Uke was moving, leaving the Solomon Islands behind. The Western Pacific leatherback ligration is one of the longest of any reptile on Earth. Tagged individuals have been tracked crossing the entire Pacific Ocean, from nesting beaches in Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands to foraging grounds off California, Oregon, and Washington. The journey covers between 6,000 and 13,000 kilometers. Uke moved southeast toward New Zealand, crossing productive fronts where warm and cold water meet and jellyfish concentrate, diving routinely to depths between 200 and 800 meters. The deep scattering layer is her highway through an otherwise featureless ocean. She is one of roughly 1,400 breeding adult females left in the Western Pacific population. Somewhere in the Pacific, right now, she is still moving. Everything that makes the leatherback extraordinary also makes it uniquely vulnerable to what humans are doing to the ocean. Commercial fishing bycatch is the primary driver of decline. Long lines, horizontal fishing lines extending up to 100 kilometers with thousands of baited hooks are set directly across the migration corridors leatherbacks use. A leatherback cannot detach from a hook. It cannot surface to breathe. It drowns. In the Eastern Pacific, researchers have estimated that without targeted intervention, that regional population could disappear entirely by 2060. Then there is ocean plastic. Leatherbacks feed on jellyfish by swallowing them whole. A drifting plastic bag looks, from below, almost exactly like a moon jellyfish. Ingested plastic causes internal obstruction, chemical toxicity, and reduced feeding capacity. A 1,000-pound animal capable of diving deeper than a submarine can be killed by a bag that costs less than a penny to produce. In March 2026, a satellite tag was attached to a leatherback in Ecuador, the first such deployment there, part of a new program to identify critical habitats and fishing conflict zones. This is how conservation is done in 2026, not just protecting beaches, but mapping the full three-dimensional space a leatherback occupies across an entire ocean basin, and identifying where, at what depth, and at what time of year an animal is most likely to encounter gear. Because leatherbacks dive to 1,344 meters, protecting them is not only a surface problem, the gear is also at depth. NOAA has listed the Western Pacific leatherback as a species in the spotlight. Targeted reduction of long line bycatch, circle hooks, reduced soak times, modified leader lengths is already showing measurable impact in some fisheries. It is not enough yet.
Here's the thing about Uke Sasakolo. She has been alive for at least 30 years, possibly 60. She has made this migration before, perhaps a dozen times. She has descended into the midnight zone, a place humans have barely visited even with remotely operated vehicles, while we were still arguing over whether turtles felt pain. The satellite tag we attached to her has given us a glimpse of what she does in the dark. It has not told us why. The data keeps accumulating, the question stays open. And while scientists study the why, the 1,400 remaining Western Pacific breeding females keep making the same migrations, taking the same risks in the same fishing zones, nesting on the same beaches under the same rising pressure. Somewhere below the surface right now, another leatherback is beginning a descent nobody is watching. What we understand is she is extraordinary. What we do about it determines whether anything like her still exists in the ocean when the question is finally answered. Subscribe to the Abyss Report. The ocean still has secrets it has not given up, and one of the few creatures capable of reaching them might not be around much longer to find them.